Some relationships are never measured by the number of words spoken, but by the number of silences that linger in our hearts long after the words have faded. Perhaps the purest of all kind of relationship is that of a mother and her child. It goes without saying, doesn't it? A mother's love is her first lesson in faith, her first shelter, her first language. It asks for nothing, yet we get so much out of it. And the most interesting part, the remarkable part of love, is the way it finds its voice. Through memories, through conversations, and sometimes through letters. Yes, you heard me right. Letters. Well, handwritten letters are not that trending yet. But do you really think the expression of love and the emotion that lies beneath have ever found any change? I don't think so. Yes, this evening is a celebration of one such conversation through letters. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all, our distinguished guests, respected members from the literary fraternity, dear friends, and everyone present here. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the launch of The Garden of White Roses, the latest work by author Soma Bose, who I've fondly called Shomadi already. A deeply moving epistolary novel that unfolds as a daughter's intimate conversation and her mother. It is a story of remembrance, healing, gratitude, and the enduring power of love. But tonight is not merely the unveiling of a book. Then what is it? Well, it is about celebrating stories that stay with us, relationships that shape us, and memories that quietly bloom like white roses in the gardens of our hearts. Thank you everyone for being here as part of our beautiful evening. Let's just welcome and greet the evening with the warmest of applause, shall we? Before I invite the lady of the moment, our author, Mrs. Soma Bose, on the center stage, I would like you to see a short audiovisual which is prepared for her and her latest work. Coming up, the audiovisual.
Some people write stories. Some people tell stories. And then there are a rare few who discover stories hidden in everyday life. In a mother's silent sacrifice, in a train journey, in a cup of evening tea, in ordinary people living extraordinary lives. That is Soma Bose. Raised in the coal mining town of Dhanbad and now based in Delhi, Soma never chased stories. Stories found her. Because where most of us see routine, she sees emotion. Where we see passing moments, she discovers memories waiting to be preserved. Her belief has always been simple. Every life deserves to be remembered. Every ordinary person deserves to become extraordinary on a page. This belief gave birth to Som Tales. A unique creative platform where photography meets literature, where every photograph becomes a story, and every story becomes a mirror of human emotions. It was the beginning of a remarkable literary journey, a journey that soon extended beyond books into the world of cinema. Her scripts earned appreciation from legendary filmmakers including Shyam Benegal and Shonali Bose. reaffirming her ability to transform simple human experiences into compelling narratives. And then came her debut book, Frenny and Other Women You Have Met, a heartfelt homage to countless homemakers, women who quietly dedicate their lives to their families without applause, without recognition, yet carrying the strength that holds generations together. This book resonated with readers across India. Its journey began at the prestigious Kolkata Centre in New Delhi, followed by literary conversations in Kolkata, Mumbai, Bengaluru, and eventually crossed international borders. Reaching the Washington, D.C. South Asian Literary Festival, her work became the subject of engaging literary discussions. Recognition followed. Soma Bose received the Emerging Writer of the Year in Fiction Award from Kyoto Publication House. She became a sought-after speaker at literary festivals, including the Kolkata International Book Fair and, of course, the Kolkata Literary Meet, where conversations around women, memory, identity, and human relationships found a powerful new voice. Her second book, I've Had Enough of You, explored another profound truth. Every human being at some point reaches a moment of transformation, a moment where fear gives way to courage, silence becomes strength, and life begins again. The unveiling of its cover in Singapore marked yet another milestone in her evolving literary journey. And today, that journey reaches its most intimate destination, her third book, The Garden of White Roses. Not fiction, not imagination, but 18 deeply personal letters written by a daughter to her mother, letters carrying childhood memories, unfinished conversations, unspoken gratitude, moments that time could never erase. After the loss of her mother, Soma discovered that love never truly leaves. It simply changes its language and form. Sometimes it becomes memory, sometimes it becomes a letter, and sometimes it blossoms into a garden of white roses, each white rose carrying a memory, each page preserving a heartbeat, each letter reminding us that people never truly leave as long as their stories continue to be told. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we celebrate much more than an author. We celebrate a daughter, a storyteller, a sensitive observer of humanity. A woman whose words have traveled across cities, countries, generations, touching hearts wherever they are read. Please join us in welcoming author Soma Bose. And together, let us open the gates to her most personal, most heartfelt, and perhaps most unforgettable work yet to blend into our lives. The Garden of White Roses.
That was so admirable. This novel unfolds through letters, yes. Letters that carry love, letters that preserve memories, letters that bridge distances no conversation ever can. To bring these pages alive, I now invite some very special voices. Yes, we already have Mrs. Soma Bose, and it's a great honor to have you here. Of course, among the very special voices that we have tonight, may I have the absolute honor of calling Mr. Sujoy Prasad Chatterjee. Now, he needs no introduction, ladies and gentlemen, an interdisciplinary artist, acclaimed recitation exponent, actor, writer, filmmaker, and cultural curator. He has consistently redefined the boundaries of artistic expression. Next, we have an actor par excellence. She is one of the most celebrated names in Bengali theatre and films, who perhaps, again, need no introduction. This is Sohini Sengupta. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome her with the warmest of applause. Next in line, we have an accomplished vocalist. Yes, the evening is enriched by her presence, particularly celebrated for a rendition of Rabindrasangeet. We have an ardent disciple of the exponent Geeta Ghotok. Banani De, ladies and gentlemen, who has enthralled audiences with her soulful renditions and deep musical sensibility and love for the timeless music of Tagore. And last but not the least, a talented musician to accompany these powerful voices through the chords on the violin. We have Mr. Sandipan Ganguly. As they take their places, allow yourselves to listen, not merely with your ears, but with your memories. Shomadi, I think you would agree, the letters that go forward, I think each one of us will rediscover a fragment of ourselves, right? Over to you. The stage is all yours. Take it from here.
হারাধন যখন খুব ছোট্ট 11 বছরের বয়স তখন আমাদের বাড়িতে আসে। আমরা থাকতাম ভাওড়া কলিয়েরই ধানবাদে। ও একটি ধাবাতে কাজ করত। একদিন আমার কাকা সেই ধাবাতে যখন প্রায় যায় হারাধনকে দেখে এবং একদিন জিজ্ঞেস করে, কি রে, যাবি আমাদের বাড়ি? হারাধন মাথা নেড়েই বলে, হ্যাঁ যাব। ব্যাস, হারাধন তার জামা কাপড় তার ব্যাগ নিয়ে চড়ে বসে কাকার মোটরসাইকেলে, আর সেই হারাধন চলে আসে আমাদের বাড়ি। এবং সেই থেকে মা বাবার শেষ দিন অবধি হারাধন মায়ের সেই ছেলে হয়েই থাকে। And he became an integral part of a family and now a very important chapter in my book. আর আজকে হারাধন কিন্তু আমাদের সঙ্গেই আছে।
You just saw Haradhun. I'm glad that Haradhun is there to carry on with all the memories that Shoma also preserved with her mother. Dear Ma, there are nights when the house grows still, memory settles like mist, and I see him, Haradhun. That day at the hospital, he came running, his eyes wide with hope, his chest rising like prayer. He asked for nothing, only one glimpse of you. He stood by the glass doors, silent, submissive, the way he always had. When he tried to enter, they stopped him. The guards did not know him. To them, he was no one. But to you, Ma, he was your own. So he stood there and wept. Not like a servant who was turned away, but like a son who had lost his mother. He pleaded in suppliance as one beseeches the Almighty Mother. Bodhi, এটা কি হলো, কেন হলো, একবার তোমাকে দেখি। Again. But you had already crossed beyond reach. How unjust it was that the most loyal being in your life was denied farewell. Do you remember the beginning? That small dhaba in Jhoria. The thin boy bent over chipped plates. Kaku had stopped. He asked, যাবে আমাদের সাথে? And the boy replied without pause, Jabo kaku. He came with nothing, only a cloth bag. Yet with him came humility, submission, awe. You asked his name, Haradhun, he said. And you answered lovingly, আজ থেকে তুমি আমাদের ছেলে. You enveloped him into your affectionate warmth. From that day, Ma, he belonged. You taught him to cook, not only with spices, but with tenderness. You scolded with the chili bit too sharp, and you smiled when the pie shone soft and white. Slowly, he became your shadow, your echo, your other hand. I remember the Sundays, the air heavy with sound, so many voices pressing into each other. Ishimuni, Ishan, the cousins, Kaku, Kakima, Dadu, Baba. The house almost trembling with its own fullness. And in the kitchen, you with your sari drawn close, he beside you, quiet, steady, turning the pulao, stirring the mangsho, listening for your voice, the fragrance of ghee and cloves rising like incense. For him, Ma, it was never duty, it was submission. It was worship. Every act a prayer, every gesture an offering. He gave without measure, without complaint. Like a hermit who owns nothing yet offers everything. After you left, he grew stiller. Each morning, he lights the incense before your photograph. He folds his hands as you had once showed him. He sits in the kitchen, that space echoing now with silence. Sometimes I hear him whisper, Odi eta ki holo? Kyano holo? As though the air itself could carry the answer back to him. One evening, I saw him there, his shoulders trembling, his tears falling into the same room where turmeric once stained the air and brass pots sang with ghee. And I knew how sorrow can be worshipped, how grief can be loved. That day at the hospital broke something in him. He did not argue. He stepped back quietly, as though he had no right to mourn. But he did, Ma. He still does. Quietly, endlessly. And I wanted you to know he was there. He tried. He loved you with a devotion so rare that it humbles me still. If love leaves its mark on the soul, faith carries weight in heaven, then you surely turned, Ma. Surely you saw him. Surely you smiled. Surely you turned at him and smiled.
ছিন্ন পাতার সাজাই তরুণী একা একা করি খেলা, আনমনা যেন দেখবালি কার, আনমনা যেন দেখবালি কার, শাসানো মেঘের ভেলা ছিন্ন পাতার সাজাই তরুণী, একা একা করি খেলা। যেমন হেলায় অনস ছন্দে কোন খেয়ালির কি আনন্দে, যেমন হেলায় অনস ছন্দে কোন খেয়ালির কি আনন্দে, সকালে ধরানো আমের মুকুল ঝরানো বিকালো বেলা ছিন্ন পাতার সাজাই তরুণী, একা একা করি খেলা। যে বাতাস নেয় ফুলের গন্ধ ভুলে যায় দিন শেষে, তার হাতে দি আমার ছন্দ কোথা যায় কে জানে সে, লক্ষ্যবিহীন স্রোতের ধারায় যেন যেন মোর সকলে হারায়, যেন যেন চিরদিন আমি পথের নেশায় পথেও করেছি খেলা, ছিন্ন পাতার সাজাই তরুণী, একা একা করি খেলা।
ওমেগা, ওমেগা ঘড়ি। বাবা তো মাইন্সে কাজ করতেন, সেই ভাওড়া কলিয়ারিতে। তখন বাবার হাতে একটি ঘড়ি পরতেন বাবা, বাবা সবসময় সেটি পরে থাকতেন। একদিন বাবাকে জিজ্ঞেস করলাম, এটা কি ঘড়ি বাবা? বাবা বলল, ওমেগা। জানতাম না তো ওমেগা ঘড়ি কি হয়। তখন বাবা বলল, আমার এক জার্মান বন্ধু এসেছিল, সে বন্ধুটি আমাকে এটা দিয়েছে, আমার খুব পছন্দের, জানিস তো, আমি এটাই পরে থাকি। লেটার অন যখন বড় হলাম, ওমেগা ঘড়ি সেই ব্র্যান্ড যখন বুঝতে শিখলাম, তখন আমার মনে আছে কোনো এক শহরে, আমার যতদূর মনে হয় শিকাগোতে, সেই মলে একটা ওমেগা ঘড়ির দোকানে হঠাৎ ওমেগা দেখে ঢুকে পড়লাম। সে দোকানদার জিজ্ঞেস করলো, ম্যাম, উড ইউ লাইক টু সি? আমি একটু বোকা বোকা হেসে বললাম, হ্যাঁ, ইয়েস। সেই যে ঘড়িটা বার করলো, আমার মনে হলো বাবার ঘড়ি তো। পরে মনে হলো কোনো একবার সেই ঘড়িটা কিনতে হবে, জানি না কবে। পড়লে মনে হবে বাবা যেন আমার হাত ধরে আছে। সোহিনী দি, ওমেগা ঘড়ি।
Baba's Omega. Ma, today while listening to a teacher friend speak about children arriving at school wearing expensive watches, large dials, heavy straps, brand names resting confidently on small, inexperienced wrists, I found myself drifting, not to the watches themselves, but to another time. another presence, Baba. And then almost immediately to the watch that became inseparable from him. In your time, Ma, watches were never ornaments. They marked duty, routine, arrival, return. Bought once, worn every day, repaired carefully, they were expected to last a lifetime. They were lived with. Baba's watch carried that same spirit. It never announced itself. It rested quietly on his wrist, yet carried an authority that needed no display. Only years later did I learn its name, Omega. To me, it had always been Baba's watch. When I think of it now, I don't remember the dial first or the metal. I remember his wrist. Strong, steady, familiar. A wrist that carried discipline, responsibility, and an unwavering love. He wore that watch the way he lived, with restraint, with dignity, with a quiet pride that never asked to be noticed. It traveled through the ordinary poetry of his days. As he sat by the window reading, as he wrote in his diary, as he wandered through the house, often lost in thought. Sometimes the sunlight caught its gentle glint. Sometimes I did. It settled so naturally into my childhood that I never thought to notice it until one day it became impossible to forget. I still remember the way he checked the time, never hurried, always purposeful. The way he placed the watch carefully on the bedside table each night, as though it deserved respect. The way he wiped the dial, preserving something far greater than metal. Back then, I knew nothing about Omega. Nothing about prestige, nothing about value. I only knew it belonged to Baba. That alone made it priceless. Years later, I understood that the watch had carried more than time. It carried his routines, his patience, his silences, his life. For a while, I imagined it traveling forward. Perhaps one day it would rest on my son's wrist. A quiet inheritance, a continuation. I didn't yet know how fragile such continuities could be. Today, when I think of that watch, my chest still tightens. It feels as though its ticking never really stopped. It simply changed places. The warmth of his skin, the touch of his wrist, the smell of the old Almirah. Mornings filled with the rustle of newspapers and his quiet movements through the house. People say time heals everything. Perhaps it does. It teaches us how to breathe around loss, how to continue. But missing Baba belongs to another measure of time. It has softened. It has never disappeared. Some absences simply learn to live beside us. Sometimes I wonder whether owning an Omega again might heal something time alone could not. Not completely, but enough. I know you would understand, Ma. You always knew that objects mattered not for their price, but for what they carried. Memory, continuity, presence. Your rings, your watches, your handbags, they were never possessions. They were companions to a life fully lived. I think of your belongings and Baba's as heirlooms, not the kind kept behind cupboard doors, but the kind I carry within myself. I may no longer hold them in my hands, I hold them instead with care in my heart. Sometimes I tell myself that one day I will buy my own Omega, not because of its price, not because of its name, but because it would feel like reclaiming a part of Baba that quietly slipped through my fingers before I understood what it meant. I imagine bringing it home, placing it before Baba's photograph, the way a daughter offers something precious to her father, not merely a watch, a quiet remembrance, a silent apology, a promise that what he stood for has not been forgotten. It may sound childish, Ma, but in moments like these, I become that little girl again. Sometimes I walk past Omega stores almost as a ritual. I never go in. I simply pause outside, looking through the glass. The watches lie quietly beneath the lights, each one holding time for someone. For a few moments, the world falls away. All I see is Baba's wrist, that familiar glint of metal, that quiet pride he carried. Once a salesman noticed me. He smiled and asked, "Would you like to see one?" Something inside me gave way. Softly I smiled and said, "I just want to touch one." Because once it belonged to my Baba. He asked nothing more. He simply nodded, the way people do when they understand that some stories are not theirs to open. For a moment, I felt closer to Baba, just through that sentence, just through that unspoken wish. I don't know when that day will come, when I will walk into an Omega store, not as a little girl looking through glass, but as a daughter ready to bring home a small piece of her father's memory. I hold on to that hope, because some dreams are not about luxury, they are about continuity, about honoring those who shaped us. And when I finally place that Omega before Baba's photograph, I know that I will whisper, "Baba, this is for you, for the watch you loved, for the love you gave, for the memories I carry with care." And when I turn to your photograph, Ma, I will remember that you too are woven into everything I am. This bond did not end the day you left. It simply learned a quieter language. I carry both of you steadily, faithfully. Ma, Baba, my heart, my beginning, my forever. I love you across and beyond time.
नाम न जाना थे এখনো কেন সময় নাহি হলো নাম না জানা थे আঘাত হানিলে না দুয়ারে হলো নাম না জানা অতিথি এখনো কেন হাজারো লোকের মাঝে রয়েছে একলা যে আয় এসো আমার হঠাৎ আলো পরালো চমকি তোলো নাম না জানা অতিথি এখনো কেন আধারো বাধা আমার ঘরে জানি না কাঁদে কাহারো তরে জানি না কাঁদে চরণ সেবার সাধনা আনো সকল দেবার বেদনায় আনো আনো নবীন প্রাণের জাগর মন্ত্র বলো কানে কানে বলো নাম না জানা অতিথি এখনো কেন সময় নাহি হলো নাম না জানা অতিথি
ওয়াচেস অ্যান্ড রিংস। বাবার মতন মাও খুব ঘড়ি পড়তে ভালোবাসতো। মার বিয়ের আগের ছবি, ব্ল্যাক অ্যান্ড হোয়াইট ছবি আমি দেখেছি। মা হাতে সেই একটা আগে সে কালো লেদারে সে একটা ঘড়ি পরতেন সবাই, মার হাতেও সেই ঘড়ি থাকতো, ছবিতে দেখেছি। তারপরে মাকে আমি দেখতাম সব সময় হাতে ঘড়ি পরে থাকতে, ভীষণ ভালোবাসতেন। মার যখন ডিমেনশিয়া ভীষণভাবে বেড়ে গেছে, একবার আমি ঢাকুরিয়ার বাড়িতে এসেছি মাকে দেখতে। মা কিন্তু সেই একটা থেরাপি চলছে, স্পিচ থেরাপি, হাতে কিন্তু সেই ঘড়ি পরা। আমি এসে দেখলাম ঘড়িটা বন্ধ। মাকে কিচ্ছু বলিনি, মা আমার মুখের দিকে তাকিয়ে হাসলো। আমি দৌড়ে গিয়ে একটা ঘড়ি কিনে এনে মাকে পরিয়ে দিলাম। মা ঘড়ি বন্ধ কি চলছে কিছুই বুঝতো না তখন, ব্যাস ঘড়ি আর আংটি। আমাকে দেখলে বলতো, হ্যাঁ রে এটা কি নতুন আংটি? আমি বলতাম, না মা ছিল তো। একবার মাকে একটা ছোট্ট কোথাও বেড়াতে গিয়েছিলাম, একটা আংটি এনে দিয়েছিলাম, কি খুশি পেয়ে। আর সেই আংটি আর ঘড়ি পাশেই রেখে দিত। একদম শেষ দিন অবধি মার পাশে বিছানার ওপরে সেই ঘড়ি আর আংটি সর্বদা সঙ্গে ছিল। সুজয়দা, watches and rings.
Sure. Dear Ma, winter has settled gently over this day. Weddings everywhere, replete with velvety flowers, the rustle of Banarasi silks. Somewhere, a Shehnai was rising. its notes quivering with that strange old world alchemy of a joy so deep that it becomes ache. An ache so tender that it returns to joy. Tonight I return from one such wedding, still holding the faint scent of attar in my hair, or atur in my hair. And as I sat before the mirror to take off my jewelry, something softened inside me. The way old memories opened like a familiar door. The ornament box lay open, gold and silver catching the lamplight, a small rain of glimmers. And suddenly, I felt you beside me. The way you used to lean in when I dressed for school, adjusting a pin, smoothing my hair, touching my cheek with that quiet reassurance only mothers truly carry. Jerry, my son, and your beloved grandson says, I've inherited that warmth from you, that instinct to make others feel held. I guess Jerry is here, right? Yeah. Hi, Jerry. That's Jerry, ladies and gentlemen. It is the truest inheritance you left me. You loved rings and watches, Ma. Not for display, not for vanity, but for the stories they held in silence, a kind of grace pressed into metal. Every time I traveled abroad, I searched for something that would delight you. Handcrafted rings shaped by local artists, watches with straps fine as whispered poetry, and you could unwrap them so carefully as though each gift contained a little universe of love. Your fingers traced every engraving, your eyes lit with that tender childlike joy that made giving to you feel almost like a blessing. I still remember your old college photograph. You wearing a black strap watch, hair pinned neatly, a soft smile blooming as the light itself had paused beside you. Even then, dignity flowed from you in effortless tides. You wore rings even on the days that you felt sick. Your watches lay by your pillow like quiet sentinels, their delicate ticks steadying the air. I would call you my good girl. And your smile, even in pain, carried a radiance that made me understand what true grace means. Tonight, while taking off my jewelry, I felt those memories rise like a tide of soft light. The earrings came off first, then the necklace. Then my hand hovered over the watch, not lifting it abruptly, but drawn by something tender and half-remembered, as if the watch itself called me back to the gentle geography of your love. The watch rested on the dresser like a breathing relic, still warm from my wrist, its silver dial holding the lamplight the way a pond holds the last color of evening. I touched it the way you once touched yours, fingers circling the crown, tracing the clasp, feeling the cold metal deepen into meaning. For a moment it felt alive, as if time, memory, and your faded laughter had curled into the warmth of its ticking. Your rings were the same, Ma, little constellations of devotion. Even now, when I lift one, the coolness startles me, the way dawn water startles a dreaming palm. Rings remember warmth long after the warmth is gone. They carry the imprint of love with a fidelity nothing else possesses. And yes, the old world belief lingers in me still, the vein of the ring finger, the vein amoris, once thought to run straight to the heart. Perhaps that is why your fingers, your rings feel like breath. There's one ache that remains. The gold ring I never gave you. The one I imagined 1,000 times, but never placed in your waiting hand. Not out of negligence, but the foolishness of believing there is always more time. I still picture your eyes lighting up, your fingers brushing the band with that quiet wonder you reserved only for gifts born of love. That unkept promise still rests in me, like a folded letter that was never posted. So I will create that ring now, that one meant for you, and place it before your photograph, where your gentle smile still fills the room like an unfailing benediction. Think of it as a late offering, Ma, a completion. Circle, closing not with regret but with devotion. Because you live in me, in my habits, in my tenderness, in my instinct to love softly yet fiercely. You live in the woman that I've become. Possibly in the woman I still strive to be. What we share is older than pulse, older than breath, a bond woven beyond the reach of time itself. Forgive the missed ring, Ma. The love was never missed. It has reached you in every minute, in every memory, in every heartbeat. And Ma, as the watch ticked softly beside me, I realize that time is not what carries you away. It is what carries you back in glimmers, in whispers, in the immortal place where memory becomes breath. Your child, always. Shoma.
জীবন মরণের সীমানা ছাড়ায় বন্ধু হে আমার রয়েছ দাঁড়ায় জীবন মরণের সীমানা ছাড়ায় এ মোর হৃদয়ের বিজন আকাশে তোমার মহাশূন্য আলোতে ঢাকা সে এ মোর হৃদয়ের বিজন নীরব নিশীতব চরণ নেছায় আধারকে শোভার দিয়েছে বিছায় আজি কোন গান নিখিল প্লাবিয়া তোমার বিনা হতে আসিল নাবিয়া ভুবন মিলে যায় সুরের রণনে গানের বেদনায় যাই যে হারায় জীবন মরণের সীমানা ছাড়ায় বন্ধু হে আমার রয়েছ দাঁড়ায় জীবন মরণের সীমানা ছাড়ায়।
ট্রিপ টু জবলপুর। বাবা মার সঙ্গে প্রত্যেক বছরই যে স্কুলের ছুটি হয়ে যেত, সেই গ্রীষ্মের ছুটি, বাবা বলতেন ওই যে ভ্রমণ সঙ্গীটা আছে, বের করে দেখো কোথায় যাবে। ব্যাস পড়তে বসে যেতাম। আবার সে বসে বসে পড়ছি, কোনটা ভালো লাগছে বুঝতে তো পারছি না। বাবা বলতেন আচ্ছা চলো এবারে আমরা জবলপুর যাই। আমার মাসি মেশো ওখানেই থাকে। মেশো আসলে অর্ডিন্যান্স ফ্যাক্টরিতে কাজ করতেন, তো জবলপুরে পোস্টিং ছিল। যথারীতি আমরা জবলপুর গেলাম। প্রথমবার লাইফে একটা ব্রিটিশ বাংলোতে থাকা, কি আনন্দ দেখে। আর সেটার সঙ্গে একটা সুন্দর বাগান। বাগানটা ছিল সাদা গোলাপ আর হালকা গোলাপি। সেটা সারা জীবনের জন্য আমার মধ্যে এতটাই রয়ে গেল, and that became the most happiest trip with Baba and Ma. And that was Garden of White Roses.
Memories of Jabalpur. In Jabalpur's silence, I unearthed my garden of white roses. My hearth graced with you, Ma. Dear Ma, this afternoon I lingered over old photographs. The shutter of my phone sounded muffled. Outside my window, a cart passed, poha steaming, jalebis dripping sugar into paper trays, and in that fragrance, I was carried back to Jabalpur. Back to rain on red stone, back to the river's low hymn. Do you remember Mashi's Bari? A British bungalow, venerable and still. Arched veranda, sandstone walls the color of dusk, ceilings high as hope. Wooden fans turning slowly, humming lullabies older than memory. That house seemed to cradle time in its arms. We had taken the train, steel tiffin boxes stacked, your hands braiding my hair before we disembarked, steam rising from the platform. When we reached the gate, wires humming, garden dew underfoot, everything softened. What I see most clearly even now is the garden. White roses blooming thick, petals like snowflakes that never melt. The air carried their fragrance, clean, spare, almost sacred. Every neighbor's house had its own rose bushes, a floral procession down narrow lanes. They seemed timeless, perhaps like the city itself. Once called Jabalipuram, its name carried the breath of Rishi Jabali. You touched the blossoms as if to draw calm into yourself. Smiled that quiet smile that still rests in my heart. Mesho walked away each dawn to the ordnance factory, crisp shirt, squared shoulders, tea in hand, purpose walking with him into the rising sun. The British had called it Jabalpur, a clipped name for a city that could never quite be contained in foreign syllables. The city itself was alive with flavors. Khoya jalebis dripping syrup, moong dal pakoras hot on corners, malpua in winter patched with cardamom, poha bright with lemon at daybreak, and always the Narmada beyond the dust. Her banks worn but holy. Her marble cliffs at Bhedaghat gleaming white under moonlight. Boats gliding between them, water flashing silver beneath the oar. In the kitchen, you and Mashi moved as one. Words half spoken, the rest understood. Dal stirring, nimki frying, turmeric bright in the air. I shelled peas and felt useful. The fragrance of coriander and mustard oil clung to the walls. Dada ran about in the garden, chasing dragonflies, leaning too far over the old well. Baba sat with his newspaper in the afternoon light, sometimes calling Mesho's youngest for chess or cards. And you looked so calm, so peaceful. Jabalpur suited you, Ma. The quiet streets, the smell of garden soil after watering, the temple bells ringing distantly at twilight, all seemed in rhythm with your soul. Evenings were unhurried. The veranda washed in twilight, a brass kettle whistling, floral-rimmed cups of tea, nimki crisp in the hand. Sometimes someone sang, and old Rabindrasangeet. You closed your eyes, your voice rose, steady with feeling I could not name, but understood. And somewhere in that night air, I felt the courage of Rani Durgavati still alive, fierce, beloved. Her story moving like an unseen current beneath the calm of roses and river water. The garden of white roses remains enshrined within me. White, chaste, sanctified, eternal. Not emptiness, but a chalice brimming with promise. For some, white is ambiguity. For me, it's a veil, embracing all colors yet shielding them, like a palette of emotions, strength and tenderness, joy and sorrow, all gathered and held in your presence, Ma. White was your aura, perfection, not cold, but luminous. Each petal a prayer, grace in the way you addressed everyone, radiating kindness, patience in the quiet rhythm of your hands at work, resilience as the legacy you left in my keeping. Together, they wove a quiet litany of life, a hymn unfolding in petals. A sea of white roses stretched before me, as if the horizon itself had blossomed, endlessly resplendent, an expanse without end, like dawn breaking again and again, refusing to die. And the butterflies, drifting like psalms over the blossoms, never clinging, always passing. messengers of transience made tender, winged parables of joy. Now, when I walk in faraway California and see them flutter above lavender fields, the vision unblurs itself. It is truly as Wordsworth said, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. Years have passed. I wonder what Jabalpur is now. Do the roses still bloom in lanes? Do the marble cliffs still glow in moonlight? Does the factory whistle still pierce the dawn? Perhaps the city has changed, but what I hold is unchanged. A veranda bathed in twilight, the quiet dignity of an old bungalow, the perfume of roses, your presence, calm as evening prayer. Mind travel to evenings. Mind travels to evenings when lights failed, as they often did, as we lit candles, as if on display to the sky thick with stars, open above us. Your stories of childhood, of the pantry where you and Mashi were once locked in, of the rose bush Dadu had planted long ago. I held on to every word as though it was scripture. Those nights, Ma, were better than any fairy tale. They glowed with the hush of devotion, with the warmth of being gathered close. On the last morning, you plucked a white rose, tucked it into your shonchoita, not to keep forever, but to carry its fragrance home. I believe it still sleeps between those pages. Perhaps the white petals in Mashi's garden held all these echoes: history, prayer, endurance, pressed softly into each bloom. That, Ma, is not just memory, it is legacy. Yours, woven into me. Come again in my dreams, Ma. Let us walk the garden paths once more, with love that lingers like fragrance. Soma.
দূরে কোথায় দূরে দূরে আমার মন বেড়ায় ঘুরে ঘুরে দূরে কোথায় দূরে দূরে যে বাঁশিতে বাতাস কাঁদে সেই বাঁশিটির সুরে সুরে দূরে কোথায় দূরে দূরে যে পথ সকল দেশ পারায় উদাস হয়ে যায় পারাজে যে পথ সকল দেশ পারায় যেতে চায় কোন অচিরে দূরে কোথায় দূরে দূরে আমার মন বেড়ায় ঘুরে ঘুরে দূরে কোথায় দূরে দূরে
Ladies and gentlemen, don't just stop the clap. I think we had tears in our eyes, each one of us, as I said, Shomadi, that we would all rediscover a fragment of ourselves through these stories, and we did. What an unforgettable and moving presentation. I think they demand the warmest of applause again. Thank you so much. I would request Banani and Sandipan to kindly take your seats in the audience. And thank you once again for the beautiful rendition. And Sohini and Sujoy, you may stay a little while longer. We have a surprise for you. Please stay. Yes, both of you. No. Dujoni. Now, there comes a moment when a book leaves the author and goes to the readers, right? And begins the journey of its own. So that's what it is. A book begins as a solitary dream. It grows through countless moments of reflection, hope, doubt, perseverance, and love. And then one beautiful day, the private dream becomes a shared celebration. With immense pleasure, I'll now invite our distinguished guests to unveil the Garden of White Roses. To begin with, our gratitude to our dignitaries for doing this honor. May I now ask them to take their seats and request our respected author, Mrs. Soma Bose, Mrs. Tanusree Shankar, Mrs. Nandita Puri, Dr. Sengupta Dasgupta, Mr. Joy Sengupta, and Sreenanda Shankar to remain on stage as we move on to our next segment, which is the panel discussion.
Hello everyone, good evening. And you know, I thought I had to participate in a book launch, but as I went through the first session, I felt I was at a memorial meeting. And what could be more appropriate than to remember one's parents? This is not only about the mother. This is about both Shoma's Ma and Baba that this book celebrates. And before I go into the details of the book, I would like to also show you this book, which has been published by Virasat Art Publication. It has published some of the most talked about books in the last 10 years from Kolkata, and it also excels not only in books written in English, but books written in Bangla as well as Hindi, if I'm not mistaken. So the person who is really responsible for recognizing authors and inviting authors to submit their manuscripts and get them published is Partho Da, as we call him. And Partho Da, would you like to stand up? And Partho Da just doesn't publish books. Yes, he is a very, very well-known painter. He is a fantastic illustrator. And this book, if you turn the pages, you will not only, but the illustrations are not yours. See how modest he is? Yes? Most people would hang down their heads and accept it, but no, not Partho Da. So, the illustrations are brilliant. The cover of the book is brilliant too. And for once, you can judge a book by its cover, because we have already heard the poems being read. And we found that these poems, these are really not poems. These are prose poems. These are elegiac, very, very sensitive, subtle, and there are infinite pauses between images, symbols, metaphors used repeatedly throughout the book. And also what is interesting is, when I received the PDF, I looked at the end of each poem, there was some little garbled writing, which I thought may be Greek. So I thought maybe I have to do a crash course in Greek now to find out what those lines are. Then I sensed, as I looked at the lines below that, I understood that Soma was a brilliant translator of Tagore's poetry. This is something we did not talk about in the evening up to this point of time, but really she has immersed herself in Tagore. You are a Tagorean. Yeah.
I think all the songs, the credit goes to Madhumita Dasgupta. I think, I wrote and she put the songs and she made it so beautiful. And the illustrations done by Pallavi Noshkor. So both are done brilliant.
So this book is not only Shoma's, but there are others who have given her support to make the book what it is today. And the addition of those 4 or 5 lines of Tagore songs is something that takes this book even beyond what we would be reading as memoir pieces. These are all recollections, recalls, and the recalling is so very detailed. It seems you have a photographic memory and a fantastic memory for food. Yes, there are so many descriptions, references to food, and you heard the jalebi mentioned many times. Yes, hopefully we could really gobble them as much as we would love to. But then, you know, there are so many other concerns with these various diagnostic clinics always telling us we shouldn't. So I am really thrilled, honored at this opportunity given to me to make these comments about Shoma's book, which came to me as a surprise, because your earlier book is very different from this very calm, composed, meditative, reflective book which recalls, recreates, and brings alive those who have left us forever but haven't really left us. Yes? Out of sight is not out of mind. And on that note, may I invite, first of all, who should I first? Would you like to speak? Okay, so not you. Okay, so I thought you would like to comment a little, or would I go to Tanusree?
I think.
Okay, so may I invite Tanusree Shankar to speak about her relationship with her daughter, and they are still sitting together, which means that the rapport is as good as you had with your mother. Yes? So otherwise I do not see much possibility of daughters and mothers hanging on to each other. All right, so go ahead.
Namaskar. At the very outset, I would just like to say thank you for inviting me to this most wonderful occasion. And, when I got the book, I didn't get an opportunity to read the book completely. And আমি বললাম মিষ্টু আজকে বুক লঞ্চে যাচ্ছি, বইটা পুরোটা পড়া হয়নি, অন্তত সকাল আজকে ভোরবেলা 5টার সময় উঠে I was going through the first few chapters, and the first few chapters, I just read and I came and told her, it's so relatable. And it took me down memory lane. It is something which there are a lot of, because I come from an army background, and the places she mentioned like Jabalpur and the coal mines and a lot of places where I have also been. So there were a lot of things I could relate to what she was saying, and the way she has described the relationship, the lot of things I could feel, and how beautifully she has expressed, and the way she has written it in such simple language, yet it's so deep. And so, those few chapters made me want to go back and read the rest of the book. So I think that is what is a good book, and the way she has হয় না একটা বই ছাড়তে ইচ্ছে করে না, I think that is what it is. And I have not read her previous books. I want to go back and read her previous books as well. So thank you for inviting me and getting me to read this so that I can go back and read your other books. And what a wonderful way of making me also feel about my relationship with my mother. And yes, we fight a lot, but I think she's my best friend. And I think it's a wonderful relationship. After a certain age, I think that line between the mother-daughter is not there at all. And it's more of a friendship, and it's more of a place where, you depend upon each other. And I could feel that in your book as well. I think it is there very much. And I think the only daughter, so that makes it more special.
Thank you, Tanusree. So may I invite Shananda to Sreenanda? May I invite Mishtu Sreenanda?
You have to tell about your name.
Say kind things about your mom.
No, it's just not about my mom. I have not read the book, I will not lie, but in the morning I asked Ma as to what it is about. And I told Choiti also that, I've really not had the time, I was sick. And I think it's a good thing that I didn't, because I heard whatever they were reciting and what she was saying. And it triggered me. It triggered me because I'm someone who lost my father when I was 18. I cried a couple of times. And I've also stayed away from my mother for 26 years when I was in Mumbai, which I feel I shouldn't have. So that's why I wanted to sit next to her. So it has touched me that deeply. Sorry, I'm going to spoil my eye makeup. I don't want to do that. I'm a little shallow and vain, but you know what I mean. So this is what your book did to me, and I'll read it in private when I don't have mascara. That's the truth.
All right, so see what impact this book is creating. Yes? So now, Sreenanda, we find that she, of course, is really very emotionally moved, and we are also feeling very moved seeing that the impact that the book has already created. Why do you have two of these? And so I would now like to invite the one and only male member here before. So this is where we are dominating you, yes, Joy?
Happily.
And so, yeah. So Joy, you may have read the book, and would you like to talk about your impressions about the book, and also from what you heard in terms of the auditory reception of the poems that you may have read?
The book, yes, but before let me talk about Shomadi, because my relationship to her writing goes back at least two books earlier. I was involved with the dramatic presentation of her earlier book. I was a reader anchor for her previous book. So it goes back some length. And the speciality of Shomadi's writing is that she writes simply, but she writes lucidly, and she writes in a manner where you don't stand at a distance in awe, but allow the writing to surround you. So it just becomes part of you, and then it enters your tactile senses. Most of her writing, even her earlier books, are somehow she dwells in snatching of memories. You know, she's snatching memories from her past, from a street she has walked, from a character she has spoken to, a baker she has spoken to, a tailor she has spoken to. She's constantly snatching memories. Some of the memories are formed crystal clear, some are fragmented, some are in the shadows. So it allows the readers to come in, participate, and give it a tactile shape. And trust me, when you read her writing, you actually visualize and then you enter the visual. Because it is not written in a impenetrable, prosaic way. It is prose, but it flows like poetry. So when anything flows, you become part of it. Flow has got that power to take you with it. So that's the speciality or the primary element of her writing. Memory, poetic element even in prose. And she has a way of taking away the drama and the melodrama and just very subtly, gently tug at your heartstrings. Now what does that does is that some people are overtly using their brain while reading. They're constantly analyzing. We are constantly analyzing when we read, why this, why that, what would have happened. Some of us are raging when we are reading some book, whatever. With her book, none of that is needed. You just need to flow with it and be there and see that old man sitting in a corner, see those breads coming out of the oven, smell those bread, maybe even taste it, walk the road, see the paint coming off some wall, and you can see all of that. And that will become your personal experience. And if you are one of those persons who is sensitive and who is, even if not traveled, but open to your surroundings, it is bound to make you that much more richer in experience. So that's what happens to me, because I, from a very young age, the decades she describes, 70s and 80s, been traveling in train with my parents to suburbs, to the suburban areas from Daltilganj and Raniganj and Maithan Dam and Hazaribagh and whatever. And extended relatives from Jharkhand, from Bihar, from Bengal, from all of that. All those smell, all those food elements, and I'm a foodie, so, that is an added incentive. And the idea of mother when she's young, the idea of mother when she needs to be mothered, idea of father who is all protective, an idea of father whom you miss now and want that protection now. You know, those contrasts and those elements, they kind of make you both emotional and fond. They make you sad, but yet they leave you with a lingering happiness, warmth. You know, there's a certain warmth you feel when you read about that, the memory of the tele bhaja. And I have those memories of things being done. When the nadu being molded in front of you by your great grand-aunts and the grandmothers. When taking bath by the kuo, the well, and then coming and eating from kolapata and whatever. All of that, those associations, those smells. So good writing must trigger all your senses, not just your visual sense, but your oral sense, your smell, your taste. And she manages to do that, which is quite incredible, you know. She's a woman of less words when she speaks, but when she writes, you get those senses triggered. So thank you so much.
That was very well expressed, compact, comprehensive, and analytical also, which you didn't like, of course, but yes, he was very analytical, which means that he has, as a teacher all my life, I can understand whether a student has read or not. And so...
How did you know I was a student of literature? How did you know that?
So I could feel that, well, he has really read it with first interest and then absorption, which really is the moment when a writer reaches you not intellectually, but also reaches your emotional understanding. And so, yes, Joy, this is a matter of great joy to really see that you have been such a diligent reader of Soma's poem and Soma's prose poems, I should like to call them, because this is prose excited into poetry. It's not prosaic. And it's not so very, as Joyce said, it's not dense. It's not like reading James Joyce. Yes? So it's a very different approach. And this approach is so easy in terms of the flow of the words, as he said, which means that the English language is, after all, that's not the language of our homes. Now it is, of course. Now kids speak in English, unfortunately. Yes, as soon as they're born, parents think that, well, this is the only way. But when you grew up, and of course, the fact that she was not growing up in Kolkata or Bengal is obvious from Dada, Dadi, Nani. Those are what we would say Thamma, Thammi, and Dida. But that immediately makes you feel this is Probashi Bangali. Yes? So that too, you know, she never really elaborates on that. All these ethnic signifiers, as we have to call them in our classrooms, which is the Bangla language being inserted within the Indian English writing, there I find that it comes so seamlessly into the writing. She could have written daddy, mummy, but you went for Baba and Ma, never ever stumbling into dad, pop, or papa, or anything of the sort. Yes? And it has come so seamlessly, it doesn't seem as if you are reading a strange Anglophone writing. It seems as if it is a part of yourself that you are sharing with the world. That is what we do when what we think we are able to express in writing, and it is born on the page and then shared with the world when it is published and also launched among a wide, informed audience like this one. So now I will go to Nandita Puri, who has also written the foreword of this book. So I will just, she right at the end of that foreword, she writes, as we go through the letters, we realize that silence at times speaks stronger than words when woven with love, as in this volume, The Garden of White Roses. So would you like to elaborate on that silence that you found in these poems?
I'm not going to say much because everything I wanted to say
Yeah,
has
and I'm
already
talking
been-
too much anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Everyone has said everything. So when you're the last speaker, you really don't want to repeat. But I will say that publishing is the slowest profession in the world. So is writing. And kudos to the publisher for, being so patient. One thing is very important is I love reading. And for any author, writer, or anybody, reading is very, very important. I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and from 5:30 to 7:30, what I do, I meditate. And what is my meditation? I read. So when the manuscript first came to me, what I loved about it, apart from, I lost my father also when I was 11, so it was my mother who was there. And the special relation with your mother you have, that is important, and I resonated with it. And then the beautiful, with the appropriate Rabindrasangeet, because I come from a family of Rabindrasangeet singers. And so everything resonated. And something very important, which is simplicity, because Khushwant Singh always said, and I use his lines as a Bible, that if you cannot communicate to your reader, what's the big deal, So, and what I loved it, when I got the manuscript and I read it, etc., I never expected this would be out, In today's day, it's all very digital and Kindle, and not even Kindle, it's the phone. And I hate it. And look at this, it's such a beautiful book. There are beautiful illustrations. Who is the illustrator? It's outstanding. It's the paper, holding it, reading the fonts, it's such a pleasure. Just reading is not enough. Having a good book to read from is very, very important. So, as I will say, it touched me, and I want all of you to pick up a copy, because this is something you will love to keep it on your shelves. Please do. Thank you.
If you heard Nandita clearly, she said keep the book on the shelf, not on the coffee table, which means you have to really read it. But this is also a visual pleasure because the illustrations are brilliant, and also the book itself, and as I said, the cover merely invites us into the book as it invites somebody into the garden, and already we are sitting in the garden, yes? But this book is a garden which will stay with us. And this is a garden which will transport us to all the loved ones who may not be with us today. But that doesn't mean that they are lost forever. They are not absolutely lost and cannot be remembered, not in oblivion. But here is Soma being able to make her parents almost present through an adroit use of language. Merely words, yes? The illustrations are different, but the words are creating those visual images. And the vibrant visual images that your symbolism, the use of metaphor, and also the very use of very simple language, rather than, the academic language, which sometimes we have to use also in our classrooms, otherwise students will say, "Kijui to jane na dekhchi." So, but that language has been avoided completely. And if you can write simply, and yet you are philosophic, reflective, meditative, she has done all that in all her poems. Like the poem on Shulipur, Yes, there is always a philosophic impact. Also a Nilambari Shari. Yes, because they just read 2 poems each, we couldn't really. But the Nilambari Shari is about a Shari she wanted, she desired to have, but it was given to an aunt of hers, a Mashi, and then she becomes almost meditative, almost a Buddhist, or also an Upanishadic ascetic, by saying that by giving away, I have won it more closely to myself. And this realization through material objects, there are a whole lot of material objects in the book, which is really very, very striking for me, because it's all woven into that tapestry that she has created. It's a beautiful visual image, and yet there are little episodes, incidents also woven within that visual picturization. And so I think you are really brilliant with your use of language, Soma, and I look forward to your future endeavors, future writings also. And I would also, just before I stop, read 2 or 3 lines from other poems, like this poem, To Baba. In fact, those who have studied in the English departments may recall a poem named Daddy. What a very different poem that is, Sylvia Plath's. Yes? And this Baba poem, just listen to 4 lines here. The little yellow frock with embroidered flowers he bought for me. When I twirled in it, he said softly, "Toke khub sundor lagche ma," a sentence that warmed the whole day. So, "Toke khub sundor lagche ma," ota ar ingrijite lekhe. And that really makes that difference, that sensitivity that you have of the use of language. And also the poem where she's describing her first journey to Kolkata, and she's arrived, and this I have to share with you, description of Kolkata for the first time. You remember how Kolkata rose to meet us next, like an old aristocratic aunt, noisy, knowing, overwhelmingly affectionate. So, and of course there's a Japanese word, but I'm going to show off with that. And that is Natsukashi. She says, it comes to mind, the feeling of something dear returning and leaving you with warmth. And the book has been dedicated to her son, Jerry, from Urbana-Champaign to the UK. And the way you have dedicated to him also, as he called out to his nani, and his nani flickered her eyelids for a minute. Even that has been, all of that has such a cinematic effect, not merely pictographic, yes? It's a moving picture in Mahabhaji. So it's really brilliant, your handling of the language, and that's because she writes scripts herself. How there is so much of dramatic immediacy in your writing, and that really makes it so immensely readable. And those who perform with words know how important it is that if the writer can contribute that dramatic immediacy, performance becomes such a pleasure. And so, with those words, I would invite the author to bring this session to a close.
I genuinely believe that we live in very dark times, and your book, I think, I haven't read it, but from what I heard and gathered, I think your book is going to be like a beacon of light to the many families who are separated, children who are being caught in this turmoil of the adult world. They haven't seen this kind of relationship with mothers and fathers and children. So if this book gives them hope, then I think you've done it. Because it really is a very, very difficult, well, I've been a teacher for more than 45 years, And in my experience, I have seen children coming from the most hideously disturbed and distorted families. So when children like that can even read about something that is so idyllic and so beautiful, I think that kind of should give them hope.
I don't know from where to start actually. I'm absolutely loss of words. Everyone who had talked about the book and understood the silence behind it. I always feel one thing, you don't need to converse always. Sometimes we need to sit, reflect and feel. I think that is the most important thing. With Ma passing away, the trauma which I still go through, I think I had no other way than writing this book. And the moment I decided to write this book was outside the ICU when I just saw her passing away. And I came out and I was like, what to do now without Ma? And on those seconds, I realized, should I stop writing or should I go ahead with that? And I took a call that I need to write a book and dedicate it to her. And I started just after a few months with just scribbling down, like I was talking to Sujoy the other day. I had no words, I couldn't form a sentence. It was very difficult to even think what to write. First few pages even I was scribbling, and then I kind of gathered myself the strength and I started writing the book. And today it is here. I really want to thank each one of you here for supporting me, for thinking about the relationship of Ma Ata Shantan, Ma and her children. One thing I realized when writing these letters, I had so many more letters to be written. And then I thought one thing, can a conversation between mother and child ever end? It cannot. It will go on forever. So somewhere I had to end this book. I ended with 18 letters. But now when I think, so many beautiful more memories with Ma is still there. Maybe some other time, maybe some other book. But let it rest here. Thank you.
Thank you, Soma. You couldn't have put it better. And I would just read a few lines to bring this to a conclusion, this particular session, which has been so touching. It's a poem, again, which is addressed to Ma, but she never, ever forgets her father. It's always this togetherness of the parents. And I will just read a section from that poem. Thank you for walking beside him, Ma, for anchoring his silences with your warmth, for giving me a childhood that glows even now. I still sit by the window of life the way Baba taught me, watching the world rush past, but feeling you both beside me in every landscape that refuses to fade. With all my love, always your child, Soma.
That was so deeply touching. Thank you, Shanjuktadi, for that wonderful conclusion. And in my opening lines, I said these exact words, that relationships are never measured by the number of words spoken, but by the number of silences that linger in our hearts long after the words have faded. I'm sure tonight you could gather and rediscover a fragment of the Garden of White Roses in all of us. Isn't it so? Thank you so much to all the esteemed speakers. Thank you for this enriching session. I think we have reached almost at the close of this beautiful evening. But before we finish, we would like to call upon the team, the wonderful team who made this beautiful evening possible, curated this program in such a wonderful manner. Team Freedom Forever, led by Choiti Ghosh and her team, and everyone associated with this beautiful evening. May we have them on stage, please. It's a chorus, so we would all want you to sing with us, with Banani di.
আলোকেরে ঝরনা ধারায় ধুইয়ে দাও আপনাকে লুকিয়ে রাখা ধুলার ঢাকা ধুইয়ে দাও আলোকেরে ঝরনা ধারায় ধুইয়ে দাও যে জন আমার মাঝে জড়িয়ে আছে ঘুমের জালে আজ এই সকালে ধীরে ধীরে তার কপালে এই অরুণ আলোর সোনার কাঠি ছুঁয়ে দাও বিশ্ব হৃদয় হতে ধাওয়া আলোয় পাগল প্রভাত হাওয়া সেই হাওয়াতে হৃদয় আমার নুইয়ে দাও আলোকের ঝরনা ধারায় ধুইয়ে দাও আজ নিখিলের আনন্দ ধারায় ধুইয়ে দাও মনের কোণের সব দীনতা মলিনতা ধুইয়ে দাও আমার পরাণ বিনায় ঘুমিয়ে আছে অমৃত গান তার নাইকো বাণী নাইকো ছন্দ নাইকো তান তারে আনন্দের এই জাগরণী ছুঁয়ে দাও বিশ্ব হৃদয় হতে ধাওয়া প্রাণে পাগল গানের হাওয়া সেই হাওয়াতে হৃদয় আমার নুইয়ে দাও আলোকের এই ঝরনা ধারায় ধুইয়ে দাও